Basically, the eye is the organ that helps us see. Any idiot knows that. But did you know that the eye contains a bunch of photoreceptors that sense and encode patterns made by light? In fact, almost 70% of all sensory receptors are in the eye alone. Pretty impressive, huh? But don't worry about receptors just yet. We'll describe the anatomy of the eye in a little more detail first.
The eye is basically a hollow sphere, about 1 inch in diameter. It's made up of 3 layers. These layers are called tunics. The eye is also filled with fluids that are called humors. And then there's the third part of the eye called the lens. So the eye is made up of tunics, humors, and the lens.
We'll discuss all of these structures in detail, starting with the tunics. The 3 tunics of the eye are the fibrous tunic, the vascular tunic, and the sensory tunic.
The fibrous tunic is an outer coat of dense connective tissue. The fibrous tunic is different from other tunics because it's avascular, which means it has no blood vessels in it. There are 2 different structures in the fibrous tunic, the sclera and the cornea.
The sclera is a layer of white opaque tissue in the fibrous tunic. The sclera is the white area you see in the front of the eye and pretty much makes up the bulk of the eye's surface area. The cornea is a transparent bulge on the anterior or front part of the tunic. The cornea allows light to enter the eye.
The vascular tunic is the middle layer of the eye. The vascular tunic is highly vascularized, meaning there's a great deal of blood vessels in it. It can be broken down into 3 regions: the choroid, the ciliary body, and the iris.
The choroid is a pigmented membrane in the posterior or back part of the tunic. It feeds the eye, giving vital nutrients to all the hungry tunics. It also contains a brown pigment called melanin that helps absorb light.
The ciliary body is the anterior thick ring of tissue that surrounds the lens and controls its shape. We'll give you the details on the lens a little bit later.
The iris is the most anterior portion of the vascular tunic. It lies between the cornea and the lens. The iris is the visible colored part of your eye. The iris is made up of smooth muscle fibers, and it can adjust the size of its pupil to regulate the amount of light that enters the eye. The pupil is the central opening in the iris that allows light to enter the eye. When you're looking at something really close or really brightly lit, the pupil is constricted to limit light levels. With distant vision or really dim vision, the pupil opens wider to allow more light into the eye.
The deepest and last layer in the eye is the sensory tunic. The sensory tunic is sometimes called the retina and is double layered. Those 2 layers within the sensory tunic are called the pigmented layer and the neural layer.
The pigmented layer is full of pigmented cells that absorb light, destroy foreign particles, and store vitamin A, a vitamin desperately needed by photoreceptor cells.
The neural layer is an inner transparent layer made up of millions and millions of photoreceptors that convert light energy into nerve impulses.